Well, then, welcome to the first of 63 segments of Because It's True, making the case for Christianity in bite-sized pieces. Now, what we're concerned about in this series is what is known as the study of apologetics. Apologetics comes from the Greek word apologia, which means to make a defense of something, of anything. So that, for example, you get the Apology of Socrates, written by Plato. But here we are talking about Christian apologetics, making a case, giving a defense for the truth, the intellectual stability of Christianity. Now, Christians are to take this endeavor very seriously. And the reason that we're to take it very seriously, if nothing else, is because we're told to take it seriously. In 1 Peter 3:15, Peter writes that sanctify Christ as Lord in your hearts, always being ready to make a defense to anyone who asks you to give an account for the hope that is within you, yet with gentleness and reverence. So, Christians have taken this command very seriously from the very beginning. You go back to the very beginning, and the Apostle Paul, just right out of the chute of the Christian growth movement, you find him as recorded in the 17th chapter of Acts in Athens, up at Areopagus or Mars Hill, engaging and talking and exchanging ideas with the intelligentsia of the city. Or if you go to Acts 26, you find the account where Paul is in front of King Agrippa. And when he has an opportunity to speak, it says that he stretched out his hand and made his defense. At the end of his exchange with King Agrippa actually says, "Shortly you would persuade me to act like a Christian." Now, King Agrippa used a very important word there, persuade. Because what we're about is to persuade people who have questions or who are opposed, who have arguments against the Christian faith, to change their mind. We're to be about persuasion, not coercion. We are not about forcing people to convert to our way of thinking, to convert to Christianity. So with the first century, you've got a number of folks, but perhaps the most outstanding one is the Apostle Paul. In the second century, the most outstanding one is a gentleman by the name of Justin Martyr. Now, Martyr was not his last name. He was put to death for taking the stand that he did in the way that he did in his efforts to persuade. Being an apologist is not always safe. It wasn't safe for Socrates. It wasn't safe for Paul. It wasn't safe for Justin Martyr. Then you go into the 3rd century, you have a gentleman by the name of Origen. The 4th and 5th centuries, kind of straddling those years, Augustine comes along, and he puts forth what is known as the cosmological argument. Then in the 7th century, Anselm comes along and he puts forth what is known as the ontological argument. 13th century, you've got Thomas Aquinas. 17th century, you've got the brilliant mathematician, French mathematician, Blaise Pascal. 19th century, you've got Soren Kierkegaard. Now you enter into the 20th century, and perhaps there are names that you're more familiar with, such as C.S. Lewis, G.K. Chesterton, Dorothy Sayers, Karl Barth, Francis Schaeffer. Straddling, moving around the 20th century to the 21st century, you get folks such as Josh McDowell, Ravi Zacharias, Nancy Pearcey, Amy Orr Ewing, Os Guinness, Timothy Keller, John Lennox, Tanya Walker, Marcy Jo Sharp. And I'm leaving people out. The Christian community has taken the task, the opportunity, the responsibility of apologetics very seriously. Now, one of the reasons we take it seriously, perhaps the most obvious reason we take it seriously and should take it seriously, is for the benefit of non-believers. There are folks out there who have serious, legitimate questions about the Christian faith. They're skeptical. And so we want to be able to provide those answers. But the less obvious reason that we need to be concerned about apologetics is for believers. Now, listen, here's a rule of thumb. When you find yourself in a bad place, in a dark place, here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to listen to yourself. Because when you're in a bad place, those thoughts, and you listen to yourself, they could very well lie to you. What you want to do is you want to talk to yourself, telling yourself, reminding yourself of what you know is true. And oftentimes when we're in a difficult place as Christians, one of the questions that comes along is this true? Is the Christian faith true? And one of the benefits of apologetics is that it gathers up in your thinking reasons to believe and to reconfirm your confidence in the Christian faith when you're in a bad place. You see, sometimes it's ourselves to whom we need to make a defense and give an account for the hope that is within us.